Good morning, everybody. I am Stacey Mooney, and I am your host for the second episode of Meet the Retailers with Retail Live. I am the Retail Live lady, and without further ado, I want to introduce to you our three amazing guests for this week's episode. First up, we have Michael Browning. Michael is the CEO and co-founder of Urban Air Trampoline Parks and, Adventure Parks, right? Did I say that right, Michael? It's
You got it right.
Air Trampoline and Adventure Parks. We have Scott Sharkey with Sharkey's Cuts for Kids. He is the CEO and franchise developer for Sharkey's. And then we have Gerardo Flores. He is the vice president of real estate for Jersey Mike's. Just like last week, you guys, we are going to ask our guests a series of questions. We're going to bounce around from each panelist, and they're going to answer those questions. And at the end of the Q&A that we have provided, the questions that I have for our guest, you guys will have an opportunity throughout the webinar to submit questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of my questions, I will go through some of those questions and hopefully get some of your questions answered if we haven't covered them already in the beginning of the webinar.
Great.
So here we go. Michael, I'm going to start with you. I did a little bit of research. I did a little bit of research on you. Not that I was already very familiar with the brand and have seen some really great articles on what you have done. But I understand you started your first, or opened your first Urban Air, I think in 2011 in Southlake, Texas, with your father. He's the other founder of the co-founder part, with your wife and your mother serving as advisors from a mother's perspective for Urban Air. Yeah. And so absolutely. Maybe you want to just embellish on that a little bit. I'm curious how I don't think that you were previously in retail. So I'm curious how you made the leap, no pun intended, into the Urban Air business.
Yeah, sure. No, you're exactly right. So we started the company in 2011. I've always been an opportunistic entrepreneur. So I've had some other ventures in the past. Everything's always revolved around big data and understanding the consumer, but it not necessarily always in retail. As many entrepreneurs, we started with a blank sheet of paper and put this thing together, and we didn't anticipate it being what it is today. But I mean, so I'm a founder that comes from, I was a general manager, I was a party host, I was a cashier. And then, now here we are today. And it was from the help of absolutely my family, mom, dad, wife, my sisters. We all threw in on this idea to get it going. And we had to make a lot of mistakes and learn a lot in order to develop the system that we have today.
That's awesome. Really cool. I liked reading about your dad's involvement with the company, which maybe we can touch on a little bit later, but I'm all about family businesses. I think that's really, really cool that you've done all that with so many of your family members. Speaking of family members and starting concepts with family, Scott, I understand that you started Sharkey's with your wife, Linda, and I was curious, and that was in 2002. And for everybody that doesn't know this, Sharkey's was named I think it was last month's edition of Entrepreneur Magazine as being one of the top 100 recession-proof franchise concepts, which is pretty awesome given what's going on. But I understand you started it with Linda in 2002. Did you guys have a prior background in the salon business? Is anybody like a cosmetologist or in the hair industry prior to Sharkey's?
Not even close. I would, to this day when I talk to prospects, and, we've been doing this now for 18, 19 years. And to this day, I know nothing about hair, absolutely nothing. So we got in on a whim, like a lot of entrepreneurs. We were living in Manhattan at the time. My oldest daughter, Julia, was 4, who's downstairs waiting for pancakes after this call. And I grew up in a family business. I grew up in the barcoding business. Myself and my family, we were one of the inventors of the printing of the barcodes. back in the mid 80s. So we had a manufacturing plant on the west side of Manhattan. And I'll fast forward a bit. Linda, my wife, who's from Houston, actually grew up in the advertising industry, working for Saatchi and Gray. And anyway, we sold the business in 2000. We had two small competitors, a company called Fuji and a company called NCR. And then there was Sony that came around. So you can probably figure out the handwriting on the wall. So we got out of the business in 2000. We really couldn't afford to stay in Manhattan anymore with two kids. We had a typical 2-bedroom apartment, split one of the bedrooms up with the crib and a bed and so on. And we decided to move to Connecticut. And I'd sold the business, so, you know, I wasn't in a rush to do anything. And when we moved to Connecticut, we moved to the town of Greenwich, Connecticut. And Linda was like, what about opening up a kid's hair salon? And I'm like, are you crazy? What do we know about a kid's hair salon? And like all of us, you know, you go into a retail shop, it's busy, they must be making millions, you know, the whole story. So we put it down on an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm like, And within 3 months, there I was standing behind the desk of our first Sharky's Cuts for Kids salon. And then we got approached a few years later, actually by a couple that owned the Valpak franchise. And they saw our website. I guess we had web pages back then in 2003 or so. Anyway, they came up to visit. We had our first discovery day, and they bought one. And that's how we got into the franchise world. And, you know, fast forward all the way to today, and, you know, we got a little under 100 units, and we'll get into that a little later. But again, we know nothing about hair. Absolutely nothing. It's totally a passive business.
You certainly know more today than you did then. And maybe not about cutting it, but certainly how to operate a haircutting business, it sounds like.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank you for that. All right, Gerardo. So I have to tell our guests, even though it's apparently I'm not that memorable, I used to be the broker for Cold Stone Creamery in the Tampa Bay market, and I worked with a gal named Jenny Cushing, who at the time was the real estate manager. And Gerardo, you were her boss. We actually had road trips like all brokers do.
I wasn't her boss.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't her boss.
Oh, I thought you were. All I remember is the three of us tooling around Orlando and Tampa in a Prowler rental car. But anyway, that has nothing to do with today's episode. You guys, Gerardo has been with Jersey Mike's for 9 years now? Has it been that long?
8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
And he has quite a following in the commercial real estate industry. If anybody looked at the post from yesterday or maybe it was Wednesday, where we announced his participation, the amount of, frankly, men that profess their love to you on that string was amazing. So you must be quite the deal maker.
Well, yeah, it's a great industry. Yeah, we have a lot of friends in this industry, and as we all know, it's a relationship business. So it's been a fun ride. I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
That's awesome. And you were, obviously, I know you're with Cold Stone, and did you start with, who is it, PetSmart that you started with before?
I started with PetSmart, and then I went over to Cold Stone, had a stint with Quiznos as well, and then found my dream job here at Jersey Mike's. It's been an amazing ride. Words can't describe how amazing it's been since I got here.
Yeah, I know I made a note here, and I know I've asked you one of the questions that I have for you. We've seen quite a bit of press about the founder of Jersey Mike's, Peter Cancro. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yes.
And what he's done from a philanthropic standpoint, not just with COVID. He's maintained that philosophy even prior to this, but it's been pretty amazing what he's done on that front, and it must be a great culture to work in with somebody at the helm that's really passionate about that, like he seems to be.
It's a foundation of our company. We our motto is give to give. We don't ask anyone to reciprocate. It's a culture of giving, and it precedes me. It precedes all my team. It goes back to the days he founded the company. It's always been a culture of giving. So you hear a lot about what he's doing with COVID-19, but we just finished up March of Giving, and unfortunately, most of it was canceled because of COVID. But we give, the company and Peter gives millions and millions of dollars to charities every year. It's been our foundation since day one. And one of my colleagues actually said, we didn't really need to revamp any of our strategy because we were already giving. We just ended up giving more. So it's been our culture from the beginning, and we absolutely love it.
I don't know how old it was. I think it's been a couple weeks now. I'm curious, just that over 2 million subs have been donated. I assume that number's got to be over probably 3 million at this point.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's the response has been incredible. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of food that we give out. Yeah, Peter actually donated money to each and every single store and told them use that money to donate food. So it's been a wonderful response. We've gotten great attention on social media, and it's been a skyrocket for us.
That's really amazing.
We are getting a lot more press because of it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes those things end up giving you a lot of, they give back to you tenfold when you come from a place of I think doing good. It usually pays back.
Yeah,
So
and again,
awesome.
we're not
Michael,
asking for anything.
I want to ask you something. I read about, I remember when it first came out, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, as I'm sure anybody who would read it was, and that is what you did for your employees by connecting, getting involved with Amazon and their need for additional employees, and how you connected your employees with Amazon and also with HelloFresh. I mean, just like so cool. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. We closed all of our locations across the country collectively with Main Event and Chuck E. Cheese on March 17th. And Urban Air, along with Chuck E. Cheese and Main Event, we have a lot of frontline team members who are hourly, and they need that money. And so as we started to look towards solutions for them, I have some relationships at Amazon and some relationships with the folks that work with HelloFresh on the staffing side, and where we were moving into a valley, they were moving into peaks. And they were seeing more demand than ever for their Amazon warehouses. They were seeing more demand than ever for HelloFresh and packing these meals that would then be delivered to the homes. And so collectively, we worked with them, and they gave our 12,500 employees a special link to go to where they could have a job within 7 days of applying if they met all the qualifications, right? And then Amazon and HelloFresh were taking care of them. And then when we open back up, we still have a 96.5% intent to return from those employees. And so we're really excited about our ability to open back up for business and for our employees to return. And Amazon is being great about that. They know that these people are going to go back to work at Urban Air when the COVID crisis passes.
I mean, it's, again, just brilliant. I think it's like, a lot of people obviously have been talking about these businesses that are closing, having to lay off employees. And then even when they have the ability to reopen, how do they restabilize with all of their employees? And clearly I think you've got that question answered, which is, again, kudos to you. I thought it was brilliant. I remember when it came out and was announced. Scott, So I saw on your website, or maybe it was even when we were talking, not only do you have your physical retail locations, you also have, it's a product line that ties in with your business. Is that right?
Yes. And now, as of yesterday, unfortunately, we have a hand sanitizer.
Unfortunately? Oh, you said.
Well, how things have evolved, we promote shampoos and hair care products, and now, like all of us, we're moving into logoed masks, infrared thermometers, and now sanitizers. So, but yes, to answer your question, you have a full line of products. That kind of
ties into, I know one of the questions that I'm going to ask all of you guys, and I know that I've been encouraged by several people to ask this. Everyone's curious, and I'll start with you, Scott, about your ideas on when you think you'll be able to reopen. And obviously for all three of you, it's somewhat, based on what location we're talking about, but just what your opinion is on when you'll be able to reopen, and what your plans are in terms of how you change your interaction with the customers based on everything that's happened. And are you guys already, I assume, putting those plans into place and having those discussions? And what does that look like? Scott, you can go ahead and go first, and then I'm going to ask the other two guests.
Yeah, those are good questions. So obviously, as the franchisor, we have Tuesday morning meetings with all our franchisees at 10:15 every Tuesday. We give them an update on what's happening at corporate. Like you just said, Stacey, nobody knows when we're opening all around the country. It appears it's going to be mandated by the local governors and the state and the local municipalities in each town. So it's different, and some states are ahead of other states and so on. Here we're in Westport, Connecticut. So, for us, we've been in for 3-4 weeks. So it's kind of routine for us every day. But to answer your question, we're already in pre-opening mode. We've already put out information to our franchisees and what we're looking at and so on, and extended hours. And, we're going to be opening with 15-hour days. That's what we're looking at. So the days of 8 hours, we've set hours here in Westport already. We're opening at 7. We're going to close at 10 or 11. We're going on smaller shifts, again, depending upon what the local ordinances are as far as how many people we can have in our salon as an appointment only. But but my franchisees are they're all sitting tight right now, and they're okay because all we're doing is deferring haircuts right now. Whether it be for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we're all opening again. And the running joke, or I guess you look for humor or levity, is the boys are all gonna come in looking like hippies. So maybe we're gonna raise prices. We're gonna donate a percentage of every haircut to local food banks and so on, or like we do now, breast cancer awareness and other local charities. So we have a community Facebook page, and we are like a big family. But it's okay. They've all, like we all have, we kind of hunkered down, and we know we're going to open in a short period of time. So it's okay. It's okay for us. We're a fortunate brand.
I love that what you're saying is that you're anticipating a surge, and so much so that you're going to have to increase your hours. That, I think, probably makes a lot of people feel pretty good hearing that. Because of course, everyone's talking about, is there going to be pent up demand, and are people going to come out, with a vengeance, spending money, and of course, from a retail perspective, we're all, I'm sure, in agreement, hoping that is the case. Gerard,
I can just share one other.
Oh,
I was
sure.
just going to share one other quick thing. Is in the Northeast, we typically have bad weather in the winters, and the kids are out of school for 2, 3, 4 days if there's a snowstorm. So in the kids' haircutting business, it's not like when the kids are home, the moms are running to Supercuts or the local barber. They're in. The roads are bad. And at the end of the month, the business equals out, no matter how many days we're closed. So yes, in this situation, it's going to be insane. The shops are going to do 3, 4, 5,000 haircuts in a month. So as a franchisor, that's what we have to prepare for. It's crazy, but it's okay.
Yeah,
we're all okay.
Well, it's hopeful and positive, I think, to think about being able to make up for it a little bit when you reopen. So Gerardo, I know that
Right.
you're on the real estate team, so you may not be, I don't know how in depth you are with these types of questions with respect to reopening and what that looks like for your franchisees. But do you have any thoughts on that, when you think that they may be able to reopen, and any adjustments to the business model with respect to everything that's happened, whether that's, obviously we're talking about taking temperatures at the door when people come in and all that kind of stuff. Are you guys talking about that internally?
There are internal discussions. Unfortunately, I'm not a part of that. We are having internal discussions within the real estate department about what it's going to look like once this thing does reopen for our team. My customers aren't the ones buying subs. My customers are the franchisees and landlords, brokers, developers. So we're gearing our strategy around that piece. We haven't fully developed rules yet, but I can imagine site rides initially being on your own, maybe meeting a franchisee there opposed to being in a confined space like a car for hours and hours like we're all used to. So I could see some limitations on travel once this thing does open up for my team, just to protect them and be safe. But as far as the customer is concerned, that's way above my pay grade over on the ops side. So, as far as opening, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping, first week of May, mid-May, we start opening these things up. But that said, I still think there's going to be some social distancing requirements in place. Maybe, every other table is open, or, we limit the folks that go into the store. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but the old norm is not going to be the new norm.
Right. Right. I think we all have a consensus on that. Michael, I know that you guys are, I remember I went in and I was looking at some even like Yelp reviews of customers, and people are talking about how clean urban air locations are anyway, even before all of this. And so obviously I can assume that standard will be maintained. Do you have any, I guess I don't want to use the word fear, but are you concerned with kind of that perception, being that it's a trampoline park? There's obviously a lot of kids, running around and jumping, and the sanity factor, and what are you going to change anything? You're going to maintain what you've always done, which is seem to work, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, as you mentioned, we're going to market that urban air has always been safe and clean. We are safe and clean, and will continue to be safe and clean. And we realize that cleanliness has a direct correlation to how customers perceive safety, and they have a direct correlation, which Gerardo can probably relate to, with food quality. So cleanliness is very important to the overall brand. How we see coming out of COVID-19, I think, is it's all about consumer confidence. And so there are going to be increased measures to increase visibility of our cleaners. Before maybe we didn't want to get in the way of the guests. Now we want to be more visible. I do think, and I'm a big believer in the adoption curve. I think there's going to be 20% of our guests are going to be early adopters, and they've got cabin fever and they're ready to get out there. I think the herd is 60% of the population. And the key to success for us is going to be getting the early adopters to come in and become brand ambassadors, that urban air is still safe, it's still clean, maybe even cleaner than ever before. And those people talking to the 60%, the herd, that, hey, it's safe, it's clean, like, let's get back to normal. We do have some increased measures, that from temperature reading to how we're going to group people and when they're in the facilities to meet the guidelines that came out yesterday by the federal government and will be applied at a state level by the governors. So we're gonna do everything that we can do to keep our guests safe, and most importantly, make them confident that that urban air is a place where they want to and can spend their hard-earned money.
Right. Thank you. So our audience, the majority of our audience, I'd say 95% of the people that are watching you guys right now are in the commercial real estate arena in a capacity as landlord, developer, broker, etc. So I want to get to the real estate questions, because I know they're probably out there going, ask them where they're expanding and how many units they have and how many units are planned for growth. So let's get to that. So Scott, how many units I know you touched on this in the intro, but how many units do you have today? Of those, how many, if you have any, I guess I'm not sure if you have any corporate locations versus franchised locations. And then one step beyond that, how many units are planned over the next, 18 months to 2 years for you guys?
Well, unfortunately, right now I have 0. So it can only go up. We have, well, as of 3-4 weeks ago, we had about 74, 75 units open. We had 3 grand openings planned for March, which certainly got pushed up to some future point in time. So to answer your question, we have about 74, 75 units currently open, as we'd like to say, and we have 64 in development. So when I say development, looking for real estate, some were under construction as of a few weeks ago and so on. So I know some franchise companies like to say you have X amount signed, but they're for the future. We have about 62 in the works, as we'd like to say. So what's a typical space for us? I guess for the real estate people on the call, 1,200 square feet is our sweet spot. We can go as low as 900, maybe 1,000 square feet. We are looking for turnkey solutions. We want the landlords to deliver the space with our specs. We've been pretty successful the last 12 to 18 months delivering plans to the landlord and then delivering the space for us. We're pretty simple. It's a pretty simple footprint for us. Best centers for us are certainly in with grocery anchored chains, supermarkets, but we can do standalones as well. We don't need grade A space. We are a destination place, but we're neighborhoody. That's where we want to be. And Michael, who's listening, heads up our real estate division. We've done 13 deals in the last 10 days. We're busy.
That's incredible.
So things are really moving for us, and we're very busy on the real estate side right now. And we have lots of franchisees looking for space.
That's
I guess a lot of you will get in contact with me or Michael after, but we're busy right now. So we're certainly not at a standstill.
That's great.
I hope
For
that
the
helps.
audience, I know the next question is going to be, how do I get a hold of Scott? Scott has not been to a Retail Live event yet, so I can't instruct you to download the trade book like I normally would, which is free on our website through the end of the month. But we are going to circulate the 3 panelists' contact information and their broker's information if they'd like to leave that with us, and we will circulate that probably by the end of the day to everyone who has signed up to attend. So you will have an opportunity to pester our guests and their brokers if you have a site that you'd like for them to consider. Gerardo, I'm going to go to you. If you want to just talk real quickly about growth plans for Jersey Mike's and maybe any specific areas of focus that you have, and obviously, your main site criteria that you look for a location.
Yeah, sure. We have about 1,700 stores open right now. We have 750 in development at this point. There is no area of concentration. We're looking throughout the U.S. If I want to pinpoint specific areas, the coast, both east and west, are high growth markets for us. That's where the majority of our franchisees are located. As far as site criteria is concerned, we're looking at anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet, sort of the same ballpark as Scott. But we're looking for a bit more higher end demographic. We are looking for daytime demographic as well as rooftops. The biggest thing I tell brokers and landlords is I need 20 linear feet of width. Our new prototype, which just rolled out last year, requires that I have 20 linear feet of space. The depth, we can work with the depth, but the minimum I need is 20 linear feet of space at this point. So I have, 40, 50, 60 brokers. So there's a long list. You can look for it on jerseymikes.com. That's the best way to look up our site criteria, as well as get our real estate directors' contact information as well.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful. Michael, you want to take that question as well?
Yeah, sure. So we have 131 locations open right now. Well, we're open prior to COVID. currently closed, but we'll open back up with 131 locations across the United States. We have 20 grand openings waiting to open once COVID passes. We've got 84 projects under construction, so swinging hammers. We should sign 60 leases this year. That's 2020, and we're actively searching for real estate all across the country. We've got our average box size, I would say, is 40,000 square feet. Largest box is 87,000 square feet. And I don't see us going any smaller than 30,000 square feet. So we work with 2 national firms, Edge Realty here out of Dallas, and then Metro Commercial out of the Northeast. And then they help us create great relationships with brokers and agents across the country. So, and they really help us spearhead that. And so for us, what's really important is retail synergies. We're one of the only entertainment brands that are allowed to go in line with Target. We've worked really hard with them and overlaid our demographic with Target's demographic. And so we've had a ton of success there. So we like being around Target, Hobby Lobby, grocery stores, some great retail synergies. I mean, our facilities will bring in over 200,000 moms on an annual basis. And so we need those moms. Many times they love to go shop and let their kids play. And so there's a ton of retail synergies there. We want to be in areas where there's retail and entertainment and restaurant.
That's great. Scott, it sounds like you need to be following Michael, where Michael's going. All those moms bring the kids.
I agree. I'm muted, but I know my Michael's on this call, so I know he's taking notes right now.
I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see. What's next? Sorry, guys. I should have been moving on to the next one already. I'm curious, Michael. I know that you have younger children. Is that right? You've got little ones.
I do.
We're only what? I made it 25 years old when you opened your first urban air. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. 25.
Wow. I mean, you're making the rest of us look really bad and slow at getting off in our careers. But I mean, amazing. But so you've got young children at home. And I was just curious, are they asking you why daddy are all the urban airs closed and what are you, I would imagine they go often. They've got to be your official testers for everything new that you implement, which you're doing often.
Yeah, they absolutely are. We service, what we say is that kids 14 and under are our customers or our users, and mom is our customer, right? So we really focus on that. I have an 8-year-old, I have a 5-year-old, and I have now it's 8-week-old in the house.
Wow.
They're asking me a lot of things, one of which is, why are you always wearing your pajama pants all day? So that's one. And then 2, they're asking me, like, what's going on, and we, I tell them, like, we closed urban air because we were trying to promote in the community social distancing to keep the kids just like you safe. And it's not because COVID got into urban air. It's because we wanted to just help kids understand that the best thing for them to do right now is not be bugging your parents to come to urban air, but to hang out as a family and shelter in place, and let's all do our part so that we can come out of this and celebrate a victory. And so that's what I'm telling my kids. I mean, obviously they don't get it, right? They're just like, this is insane. But I'm trying to get to them to understand we're not in control like we thought we were, and that sometimes we've got to do things that we don't necessarily like and aren't comfortable to protect others that are just like us.
That's awesome. I asked last week's guest this question. I'm going to ask you guys too, because I think I know people really responded to it. They're curious. We've all made adjustments personally and professionally as a result of this, whether that's, operating our businesses differently, clearly, working from home. And then, as you mentioned, personally spending more time kind of by default with our families and re-engaging. And I'm curious, Gerardo, I'll go with you. You can answer this from a personal perspective. You can answer it from your role as the vice president of real estate. Just kind of what you've I guess, learned or even adjusted as a result of COVID, and what you may take with you after this is over? Again, business or personal, you're free to answer it either way, but just, what's changed for you, and what you've learned that's been good that you actually are going to keep doing when we're all quote unquote back to normal, whatever that is.
Whatever the normal is, right?
Yeah.
I've been working from home with various companies for over 15 years. So the change from going to an office to working from home wasn't there for me. It was a natural. I wouldn't even say a transition. I was already working from home, so it was easy for me. Both my kids are in college, and they don't live with me, so they have their own place, and life honestly didn't change for me much. The biggest thing that did change for me is I travel, anywhere between 35 to 40 weeks a year, and I've been grounded. So going a little stir crazy here, and trying to figure out how to fill the day in essence. So as far as takeaways are concerned, I'm certainly not going to take anything for granted anymore. Having that freedom just to go to the grocery store and go to a restaurant, go to Jersey Mike's and have a sub and sit down and enjoy the company. I thoroughly miss it. I thoroughly miss the interaction with folks. I miss all my friends in the industry. I miss all my franchisees. I'm anxious to get this thing reopened, but that said, I'm gonna be cautious about when I get back on the road and make sure that everyone's safe before I do that.
Okay. Scott, I'm going to ask that of you now. Have you changed anything in terms of, business practices before you were forced to, I say forced, before everyone made the decision to close? Because obviously there was a gray zone, if you will, where some industries had to close sooner than others. And during that period of time, did you implement any, different practices in the business that you think that you'll carry on after everybody's back up and open? For example, a lot of the restaurants, of course, are doing significant curbside and carry out, and whereas they may not have been doing that before, and a lot of them are saying, hey, we learned something here. There's big business here, and we're gonna keep doing that when this is done. Is there anything that you've done differently as a result of COVID that you're gonna stick with?
Well, it's a good question because our business took off really after the September 2008 crash, when we had a chance to really hone in on our business. It's very similar to today, so our business really took off, and I don't have time to get into that right now. But I'll say for me and the business, again, I work from the home office every day. So basically, the only thing that's changed for me corporate wise is, the food in the refrigerator is that much better because we're all very well stocked, and I'm 3 or 4 pounds up. Other than that, and sharing my office with my kids, it's business as usual. But, without, I guess, taking the humor out of it, what are we going to do different? 80% of our appointments are booked online even prior to this. I've already implemented an online, a cashless business. So people are going to pay up front. So there's no money exchanged at the front counter. We've already moved to tipping for the stylist, Venmo only, or PayPal, or Apple Pay. So yeah, we're pushing products online, people that need shampoo products and so on, but we haven't sold that many. I mean, it really, it'll be nice to have once we reopen, in apparel and kids' pajamas with little sharks on them and so on. But it's outside of that, it hasn't changed much for us. It's like I said, it's been okay. So and again, as I said earlier on the webinar, whatever the local town's mandate for us as far as, heat guns and thermometers and gloves and all that, we already have that in the works with our logo on it. It's already coming in. So
are all of you guys doing that? Logoed masks? Michael, Gerardo, yeah?
We are. We actually, purchased 5,000 Jersey Mike's logo handkerchiefs that you can make shift into masks. Yes.
Wow. Michael, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We have phone cases coming in. I mean, it's just crazy. You know, everything is logoed. Everything.
Yeah. Michael, so are you going to have all the kids be wearing masks, do you think, when you reopen?
You know, it's obviously going to depend on the state and local governments and what they're requiring. Obviously, the CDC is recommending masks now. Our staff is actually going to be wearing plastic face shields so that they can interact with the guests and we can still show facial expressions and smile, because we're a little concerned of kids getting scared. Like I took my kid to Target the other day. She wouldn't wear a mask. So to do some things to still maintain that emotional connection with our guests and not hiding half our face. So we've got some custom made face shields that we've created, and we'll be sending those out to all 12,500 employees when we open. And then we're looking at bandanas and head buffs and things for the consumer. If by chance they come to the park and they're supposed to have a mask and they don't, we'll have those.
Gotcha.
Same thing. Okay. We're doing the same thing. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Great.
All right. And then this is the last question for each of you. I want to make sure that all three of you have had the opportunity to share anything about your brand that you think is important that we haven't covered here for our audience. Again, keep in mind, these are mostly real estate deal makers that we have on here. So is there anything that you want to share about your brand that we haven't covered? Gerardo, I'll start with you.
This is a real estate call, so I'll keep it real related. We haven't, we've slowed, obviously. A lot of franchisees are just waiting to see how things are going to play out. But I have a lot of franchisees that still want to proceed with deals. So, we have a handful of franchisees that are continuing to negotiate LOIs. We have a handful of franchisees that are still looking for real estate. Things are moving a lot slower on the landlord broker side, unfortunately, but as far as we're concerned, we are still looking for real estate. That hasn't stopped. It's never stopped. My team is constantly searching, has not stopped searching. So whatever you have out there, please send it to us. And again, jerseymikes.com has all the contact information you need, and forward us whatever you have. We'll take a look at it. My hope is that we can get back on the road as early as June, maybe even late May, and we can start, really pushing these deals forward.
Okay, thank you. Michael, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, I echo his sentiment, right? I mean, we think there's opportunity inside the turmoil, and we are a brand that is actively looking for space across the country. What I love about our brand is you can't buy us on Amazon. We don't compete with them. You can't buy us on Netflix. You can't watch us on Disney Plus. And there's the Gen Z and millennial population makes up 52% of the US population. They're our customer, and they're 78% more likely to spend their money on experiences over things. And so we're well positioned to come out of this and help many of the people on this call, the REITs, the larger landlords, the smaller landlords, consume large amounts of space and be successful. So, Urban Air is here to stay. We're looking to sign 60 leases by the end of this year, 40,000 square feet and up. And we'd love the opportunity to work with each and every one of you that are on this call.
Awesome. Thank you. Scott, anything you want to?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off what Mike said. We're actively looking for spaces from you guys. We need 1,000, 1,200 square feet. We really do want spaces where the landlord's going to do the build out for us, because we want to get open quickly. Our build outs are small. They're $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. To buy into Sharky's, the total investment with construction is somewhere between $145,000 to $185,000. So we're quick. We're quick to open. It's a nominal investment. Obviously, it's recession-proof. We talked about it a bit, and I don't need to get into all the bullet points. Mike touched upon one. You can't get a haircut on Amazon. I'll never say that forever, because who knows? But as long as I'm here, you can't get a haircut on Amazon. So I'll share that. And we want to hear from you guys, or Michael does. My Michael. And
Not this Michael, the other
listen,
Michael.
yeah, and we've sold a few franchises last week to landlords. So we're open for business. We're busy, and we'd love to hear from you. That's why I jumped on this call with Stacey.
Awesome.
So we need you.
Really appreciate that, Scott. And thank you for all three of you for your time this morning. I know that while we're all, maybe the world has changed, we're all busy responding to those adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys some of the questions that our attendees have been feeding to us through the Q&A, and I've got some other ones that some folks that have emailed to me over the last couple of days. One that keeps coming up, although I think you guys have kind of answered this, is are you guys seeing a slowdown in franchise applications, or have they picked up? Kind of what have you seen in terms of new franchisees coming on today in terms of the volume versus what you were seeing pre-COVID? Michael, do you want to start?
Oh, I think he's up.
Yeah, sorry,
unmuted.
I was unmuting and Erica was
Go ahead.
unmuting. Yeah, so it was there was a dip in inbound leads in March when it was kind of the uncertainty was kind of out there. So we saw a dip in leads, but we've seen a tremendous spike in leads. I think what that's stemming from is people questioning whether they want to go back into corporate America after this, or they want to control as much of their own destiny as they can and open a franchise. And so I think there's never been a time better than now for people to understand the value of a franchise. I mean, what Jersey Mike's and Sharky's and Urban Air are doing for their franchisees to help them get through this. I would not want to be a mom and pop on an island right now. And so I think people are looking to get into business for themselves, and there's no better time for them to understand the value of a franchise now. And we've had 2 virtual discovery days. People are signing franchise agreements. People are signing leases. So I think, and my chief development officer, Josh Wall, was formerly with Christian Brothers Automotive. He came out of 9/11 and saw a huge spike in franchise sales. And so we're anticipating that spike, and we're excited for the future and to get out of this COVID mess.
Yeah, awesome. Gerardo.
There we go, off mute. The majority of our growth is internal, which I think goes to how strong our brand is. And I'm talking about high percentage, 85-90% of our growth last year was internally. Did we see a spike like Michael did? Spike down, I should say. Yeah, we saw a dip in franchise applications. We had a lot of franchisees that were all the way down the road, pull back a bit, didn't pull out, but pull back a bit. But like Michael said, there's very few companies out there, including franchise companies, that didn't offer the support that we did to our franchisees, both operationally and financially. So if anyone's thinking about going into business, franchising is clearly the way to go. We have enough in the pipeline. We have 750 already in the pipeline. Are we looking for more? We are absolutely looking for more. So if anyone's interested out there, reach out to myself and I'll put them in touch with our franchise sales group.
Thank you, Scott. Before I jump to you, Jordan, I want to ask you a kind of a follow-up question on that. So you're continuing to negotiate deals. Are you making adjustments on, the commencement language? Are you delaying that? Are you pushing it out? How is that certainly changed for your franchisees when you're negotiating those terms?
Yeah, we did. We have, I love our team. I absolutely love our team. We all got together and developed some COVID language in the LOI. We're not attorneys. Let me throw that out there. We're not trying to negotiate any specific legal language, but we are throwing out there some actually, we ended up doing a two-piece part to it. One is we developed some COVID-19 language regarding government closures, delays in permitting, anything that will cause delay in our rent commencement. So we're pushing that out 60 to 90 days in hopes that that's done. The other piece is we're trying to answer some pandemic language for any future instances where this may happen. So yeah, we are adjusting our LOIs. In some cases we've gone back and we've adjusted some rents. We're getting a little.
That's what was going to be my next question.
Yeah, we're letting the franchisees guide us a little bit. We're trying to be very sensitive to their needs and certainly very sensitive to this whole COVID-19 situation. But we are sort of renegotiating some rents and pushing them down a little bit. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if rents are going to soften. It's too early to tell right now. But for the most part, we are getting a little bit more aggressive. No doubt about that.
Gotcha. Scott, I'm going to guess based on the article that came out that you're one of the top, recession-proof franchises out there, that you've probably potentially seen a spike in your franchise applications. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm going to say no, Stacey. So I'm going to go back. But let me. What I want to say is that we've definitely had less inbound leads in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. But what I will say is that the quality of leads that we're getting or we've gotten have been incredible. And I'd say the reason why we've closed so many deals in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks is because the decision makers are home. They're all under one roof right now. It's not, let me speak to my wife or my husband or my partner. They're all there. And parents, or I'll say the husband and the wife or the partner, it sounds crazy, but they need to step away from their kids for an hour and have a business call. They're all under one roof. We're going from initial call to FDD to almost signing in 17 to 20 days. They're there. And without getting into all the nuances and things that Mike spoke about, which is 100% true. When times are bad, people buy franchises. They have to invest in themselves. We know all those lines as franchisors, and it's true. But for the first time, much different than 2008, the decision makers are at the kitchen table or in the bedroom or somewhere around the house. Let's talk about this. And it's happening quickly for us. And they get all the pieces. They don't want to go back to the corporate world. Do I want to answer to a boss again? And, I'm 45 years old. Where am I going? Am I going to be discharged from it? That's all part of franchising. But the quality of the calls have just been, I'm going to say, surprisingly nice. And people are moving quickly and territories are going. And again, we're a nominal investment. I can't speak about the other 2 brands that are here, but we're small and we are, we're like like Mike, we're in the mommy business. So people get our business. The kids are home. Haircuts. Is this cool? Would you like to play Xbox? It's all sitting in the house right now for us. So it's really happening for us. So
that you raised a good point about the ability to kind of, not have to have one of the partners say, hold on, I gotta, talk to my wife later or my husband or whatever. That's an interesting point you bring up. I'm curious, you guys, I've had one of the guests asked, or excuse me, the attendees asked, are any of you guys, any of the concepts growing corporately, or are you strictly growing through franchisees right now? Michael, or do you have any? I know you have, how many corporate stores do you have?
We have 2 now. We use them as innovation labs. I had some more that as part of the growing, and I personally had a portfolio of parks that I franchised out to a franchisee. We are open and willing to open corporate stores to stimulate market growth or test a new prototype, things like that. But by and large, we want to focus our time and resources so franchisees so they can be successful, and in turn, they can pay their rent, they can pay their payments and be successful. So we want to maintain being a franchisor.
Gotcha. Scott, Gerardo, who is I guess probably the easiest way to say is there either one of you, either concept, growing corporate locations, or are you strictly franchise?
We are not growing corporately right now. We're 100% franchise.
Thank you. Scott?
We have one location here in Westport, Connecticut. We have 2 other brands that we've rolled out. We have a Sharky's Hair It Is model, which is a family salon where we're currently in Walmart, H-E-B supermarkets in Texas and growing in the Myers supermarket chain.
You're just telling us this, Scott? We should have been talking about
Yeah,
this.
well, number one. Number two, I rolled out a second franchise a year ago. We've gotten into the lice business. It's called Hair Genies. Bought an existing business. We rolled one out in Westport. We're actually looking for a location to roll out another corporate store down in the McKinney, Frisco area of Texas. So for all you real estate people on the call, we're ready to open up another corporate store. On the Sharky's Cuts for Kids side, no more corporate stores.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. You guys, I know you all want to know. We will distribute that information so that you can submit your sites to Scott for any of those 3 concepts that he just mentioned. Does anyone have anything else to say? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. Speak now or forever hold your peace. That's it. I want to thank each of you.
That was awesome.
Joining me this morning. It's been really fantastic just getting to visit with you, learn more about all 3 of you and the concepts that you guys have. I know that it's been trying times, but it's very refreshing, both last week and this week. The 6 guests that we've had so far, everyone is looking to grow, and that's very reassuring for all of us that are wondering what this looks like in the commercial real estate world when COVID is something of the past. So thank you for your time. Everybody, if you enjoyed this week's episode, please join us next Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will have 3 new retailer guests to share with you. They are on our website at retaillive.com. Click the events tab and scroll down to webinars. You can register for that today. I will look forward to seeing you next week. Everybody have a great week. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Stacey.